Welcome back, everyone. This is Uhfgood, and now, when I played this, what happens? Okay, yeah, he drops down. You know, I was thinking this whole. Actually, I had to turn him around. Um. Let's turn him around to the camera. Rotation. 80. And let's save it. And let's play it. So now he's more or less facing the camera. But when I first did this, the animation didn't do any animation. But I have a feeling that maybe it's supposed to do that with the animation controller on the prefab. Maybe that's, and it didn't because I had the animation controller elsewhere. So I'm going to presume that I'm still doing stuff right. This is a idle animation, I believe. Okay, what is root motion? Animations are used to move and rotate all the game objects within a particular hierarchy. Most of these movements and rotations are done relative to their parents. However, the parent game object of the hierarchy has no parent, and therefore their movement is not relative. The parent game object can also be called the root, and its movement is therefore called the root motion. Important note, the game object called root in the John Lemon prefabs hierarchy refers to the root of its skeleton, and it's not the actual root of the game object. The root of the game object is whichever game object the animator component is on, in this case the game object called John Lemon. Apply root motion is enabled on your animator component, so any movement, so apparently I have a phone call and it says scam likely, so more than likely this is not going to be anything, so I'm just going to leave it, and it's going to annoy us for a second or two here. Okay, so let's get back to the deal here. Apply root motion is enabled on your animator component, so any movement of the root in the animation will be applied every frame. Since the animator is playing idle, there is no movement, so the animator will apply no movement. So why does John Lemon game object move at all? This is due to the update mode of the animator. Games work in a similar way to films, image displayed, and I already kind of went through this, the update loop. Let's see. All you need to know is custom components have their update method called. Updates can vary in length depending on the complexity. Another separate loop that runs all the physics operation. It just used to be you made a game loop, and it would, do stuff, and maybe you synchronized to the system timer, like in the old DOS days. And later on, they started doing this thing where they separated the visual rendering, their visual updating, from the physics updating, so that your physics can run as fast as you can make it run, but then you can still have like a constant frame rate or a fast frame rate or whatever frame rate you want for the visual stuff. This loop says this loop doesn't vary how often it updates. It's therefore called the fixed update. An animator component can change when it performs its update. By default, it performs this in line with rendering. This means that the animator is moving the character in the update, and the rigid body is simultaneously moving the character in fixed update. This is what's causing your problem and can be easily fixed. Okay, so what I was experiencing before, and you can see it in the earlier videos, is it would actually drop down like gravity but then stop. This is actually what it does, is it jumps down, it like pops down, and so that's probably what this is talking about. So it may have not been working the way it was supposed to just because I didn't do it right the last time. Okay, so we need to go back to the prefab. The only thing is how do you get to the prefab? You actually have to go into the prefabs in order to actually do this. Animator component. See the prefab open button. Let's do something here. Let's go switch the scenes. Switch to Don Lemon. Is there anything in here that says open prefab? Oh, there is. It's right here. It says prefab and then it says open. Okay, so I didn't know how to get there before now. Go to the animator physics. Go to the animator component, the update mode, go to animate physics. So in the update mode, click on animate physics. This change will cause the animator to move the character in time with the physics. Now there should be no competition between update loops and move the character, and it will react to physics as it should. I already seen in the animations that don't have any vertical root motion. This won't stop John Lemon from moving vertically after colliding with something. There's a couple of ways this can be stopped. The most obvious option is to disable use gravity or on the rigid body component. This would stop the character from falling, but isn't exactly what you need. If you disable use gravity, then your character could still fall if the collision pushed it down, or float away if the collision pushed it upward. Definitely don't want this to happen, so instead you need to constrain the movement of the character using physics. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save the prefab here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and play this and see what happens. Now it doesn't pop down like it said, right? And actually, it doesn't not use gravity anyways, which is interesting. Find the rigid body component, expand the constraints. Coordinates in Unity. Positions and rotation. Select the John Lemon game object, then look at the scene view. X is red, Y is green upward, and Z is blue. Okay. So what constraints should your character have? Character needs to be able to move forward from side to side. There's no need to constrain its X or Z position. However, it's important that it doesn't move up or down. To stop that, enable the freeze position Y checkbox. Which I guess because there's no jumping, right? Rotation refers to the rotation around a specific axis. For example, if the character rotated around its x-axis, it would look like it's laying down in front and back. Z-axis, it would look like it's laying down on the side. Shouldn't move in either of these ways. So enable freeze rotation to X and Z. Okay. Does need to turn around, so keep the freeze rotation Y checkbox enabled. The rigid body component is now set up and your character will react to the physics system. However, it doesn't really have any physical presence in the scene yet. Nothing can bump into it, and it can't bump into anything else. Now you need a collider. Add a collider. Add component in the inspector. Capsule collider. Capsule collider. Doesn't really cover the model. Select the height property to 1.4. Center to 0.7. Okay. Still a little wide though. Change the capsule collider's radius to 0.4. Alright. Now you have a character that will react to physics. You just need it to bump to as you need it to, bumping into walls but not falling over. Okay, I'm going to mark that as completed. Okay, and we are going to go ahead and save this, and we are going to go ahead and go back to the scenes. We're going to save this. We're going to hit play. Just, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to, which is fine. And it looks like now I'm actually caught up. Now I'm caught up in the dang. Oh. Don't want you to see my rest of my room. Actually, that's because of this. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna assume that everything was done correctly, and let me check something here. Right, so we're actually on number 3 instead of number 4, and all right, so everything, I guess everything looks good, and that's the way it's supposed to go. And let's actually go ahead and, before I do anything else, now since I completed this tutorial here, how do I get back to the dang rest of the tutorial? I don't need to start it again. I need to go to the next part. So how do I do that? Okay, Control 0 then. There's a little scroll thingy. How come there's no way to get back to... Okay, well, we're about up, so I will see you in the next video. Maybe we'll recap, maybe we'll look over the next thing, I don't know. So I will see you then.